Hi team, welcome to my session on Coffee with Prab, and we are in a week 2 of CISO, building security culture, and thanks for the amazing response you have shared on the day 1 or week 1 video. So what activity a CISO does in a week 2 and what I did when I was building a security culture for one of the company, so that I'm going to share in this particular video. My name is Prab Nair. For more information, you can check my LinkedIn profile. And if you're new to the channel, do subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss my future videos on a similar topic. So without wasting time, let's start with the first part. Thank you. Okay, so we are in a week 2, so after having action plan, gaining insight, now it is time for implementing. It is time for action. Now it is not necessary you have to start from zero. You can do gap assessment. You can do the assessment to identify what we have and what we need to implement. So example, you are as a CISO, you are in this particular stage and you want to achieve this particular stage. So you can do the gap assessment instead of starting from everything from basics. So when you're talking about week 2, it is always all about assessments. So that's something we're going to discuss in this particular video. So if you go by the first step to doing an assessment, you need to first assemble the assessment team. So assembling the assessment team is crucial step for conducting a comprehensive security assessment. So this team expertise and collaboration are very essential in gathering and analyzing a data. We talk about identifying gaps, vulnerability, recommendations and all that. So as a CISO, you can carry out this step effectively. So the first thing is that you can collaborate with IT and security team to form the dedicated assessment team. Okay, you can create a cross-functional team that represent the different area of information security expertise, application security within the organization, and you can have each member should bring unique skills and perspective to the table by which we can able to contributing to a well-rounded assessment process. That's something we can do. Now team has been formed. Second thing is that clearly define the roles and responsibility of the each team member based on their expertise, and domain knowledge. So you can assign a specific task and objective to each team member to ensure, they are focused and efficient toward their goals and everything. Now once we define the task and everything, what I feel that the next important thing, the team, assess the team collective expertise to ensure it cover all the aspect of information security which is relevant to the organization operation, because every organization work in a different way. You can example consider involve the external consultant or auditor if specific expertise is lacking in-house. You can increase the open communications and collaboration among the team members. Okay, you can foster an environment where the team members can freely share the insight, observations, and finding if necessary is required. And if necessary, provide the additional training or resource to team member to enhance their understanding of the assessment methodology or specific tool. So recently I was involved in data protection bill. People have no visibility about PIA. We have involved the external consultant. He did the training on PIA, and that is how the team get to know what is PIA. Okay. So that's something we can do. Most important element here when we're doing an assessment is the scoping. So scoping is basically very important. As a CISO, you will not do the assessment. All this activity you need to drive through. You will not be involved in that. Okay. So we establish the scope of the assessment, including your system, application, network, and processes. Okay. You can work with the team to create some kind of a realistic timeline for the assessment. That's also need to be done depending upon the available resource. And you can ensure the timeline allow thorough and comprehensive evaluation. It should be realistic, and conduct your regular progress meeting like agile meeting to review the findings, discuss the challenge and additional any roadblocks they basically face during an assessment. So these activity we should do. Along with that, you can also monitor the team progress. You can promote the culture of continual learning. You can also encourage them to stay updated with the latest trends, threats and best practices. So this is something we can do when you assemble the team. Now, once you assemble the team and delegate the task, the next thing is define the scope. Okay, scope is basically very important. Scope is very important. Defining a scope is a critical step in conducting any assessment, and it basically involve outlining the boundaries, area, focus, and the scope basically determine which assets, system, process will be evaluated. Is it clear? So My suggestion is that work with the stakeholders, IT and business leaders, identify the assets, IT infrastructure. You can include all the relevant component like network, server, endpoints. You can take into the account the sensitivity of the different type of data. You can also check for the compliance with the relevant industry standard like data protection law, contractual requirement, industry, sectors, and all that. Along with that, you can also analyze your historical security incidents, threat intel, industry trend reports. You can also consider the external threats like phishing, malware, internal threat like insider threats. So you can include all this, functions and everything. Then based on that, assess the information security posture of the vendor who have access to the critical system to handle. If applicable, consider the physical security aspects. We can basically have all these things. Okay, so you can ensure the assessment objectives are aligned with the organization broader security or strategic goals and priorities, and you can address all the information security risks that could impact the achievement of the organization strategy objectives. Okay, that's the most important thing. And you can also clearly document the assessment scope in a formal scope statement or document and share the scope with the key stakeholders and obtain their approval. So we need their consent. That's the most important thing we should do. Now, when you start the assessment, it's very important to review the existing security documentations. So reviewing the existing security documentation is an essential step for the CISO to gain insight into the organization historical security practice and also talk about the challenge. So it provides your valuable context, understanding of the past security incidents, policies, improvement. So you can request all the relevant documentations, including your policies, audit reports. You can obtain the copies. We already discussed in the first session. Study all the plan, understand how it handled by various type of security incidents, evaluate the document procedures, look for whether plan is current. Very, very important is when you're reviewing the plan, two things you have to check is the plan is sign off, SOP sign off, and it is current updated. That's the most important thing. Okay. Understand all the weaknesses and progress which is made in addressing those issues. Analyze your incident reports, root cause to identify the recurring challenges that we have. Okay, that's the most important thing. Verify if organization security practice are aligned with the industry regulations. Ensure your organization has compiled with the relevant data protection law. If any information in the documentation is unclear, require clarification, reach out to the relevant stakeholder. Very, very important. Do not assume. Okay, document all your key findings. So, you can do all these things. And use this knowledge to strengthen yourself, get familiarized with the organization challenges. And by reviewing existing documentation, you gain insight about the historical context and understanding of the organization security landscape. And this knowledge will basically help you to formulate the target information security strategy and align the information security program with the organization specific need and challenge. So that's something you can do. Now, based on that, you will start doing the first thing, which is called conducting a risk assessment. Okay, so conducting thorough risk assessment is a critical part of the CISO role. Okay, so risk assessment basically help in understanding the level of risk associated with the various assets, okay, and process which guide the decision making on risk treatment strategy. So you can refer, as a CISO, you can refer multiple methodology, like you can refer NIST 837, ISO 27005, 31000. And based on that, you can select a risk assessment methodology. Now, as a risk assessment, identify the threats, identify assets, engage with the internal teams, refer to the threat intel report to understand the emerging threats, assess the likelihood of each threat exploiting a vulnerability, what causing the impact, evaluating the each impact, how it impacting the confidentiality, integrity, availability. You should document all the results of the risk assessment, including your threats and vulnerability. Then along with that, once you're done with the treatment and all that, do the regular monitoring. So regular review and update the risk assessment as the organization landscapes get change, and continuously monitor the effectiveness of risk treatment strategy and try to build the risk awareness culture in the organization. It's very important. Okay. So you can foster a risk aware culture within the organization to ensure, all employees understand the roles in mitigating risk, and conduct also the training and awareness program to educate employee about the security best practices. This is something which I did when I did my assessment and all that. Then sometime what happened, we need to do the technical assessment. So you can involve the external PT guys and all that to do the assessment on technical level. So performing a pen test and vulnerability assessment is a crucial part of CISO role. Okay. It's not something, okay, CISO should do that. He will get it done. Okay. And this process basically help in understanding about the security posture, detecting all the potential vulnerabilities, validating the effectiveness of your control. So that's how we can do that. So as a CISO, my suggestion is that decide whether to engage the external firm with expertise in pen testing or use an in-house. But most important is scope. You can consider complexities, resource, okay? Define the scope and objective. That's the most important thing. Specify the system and applications and network that need to be tested. Perform all the attack, take an approvals, mostly do this activity in a non-business hours. Okay, so that's something you can do. And document all the findings from the pen testing and vulnerability process, include a description of each vulnerabilities and potential impact, and recommend the remedial actions and all that. So by performing the PT and VA, CISO will basically helps to identify the potential weakness in the organization and infrastructure, and this result serve as a valuable inputs for strengthening the security controls and enhancing the organization overall cybersecurity or information security posture. And this is something you can do in a risk assessment stage. Okay. Then once you're done with the assessment, you will identify the current security controls. What controls we have, is the controls are working effectively. Then identify the gaps in the implementation of coverage security control, what we have and what we need to implement. Okay, so that's something we can do in evaluating a security controls.